thanks to 67 CEOs for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate, guys. Thank you very much for flying me all the way, to come here, to be here today. Thank you, Sam, for, for hotel stay, Ladies and gentlemen, those who were here, I did brief you about 67 CEO, where we come from. There are two things in business. Either you wait for money to start, or you start without money. Two things. And those who have quoted that line, they say, @Ndzavi Derrick. Okay? And say hashtag, right? And then from there, I'm going to retweet and follow you immediately. Yes. By the way, I've got 250-something thousand followers. So yeah, so I'll follow you, I promise. So when Sam came with the idea, or, Sam had no cent. And he called himself a billionaire, right? He called himself a billionaire, And without a cent. And the first door he knocked was at Global Entrepreneurship Head Office. And say, listen, I don't have money, but I've got a team of people that I can walk in here, and we do the event, and we're going to call people, they will come, a lot of people. Went there, and they gave the space, we started, and guess what? It was full like it is now. After that, there was no looking back. It was either we leave it or we move forward. And by God's grace, we had to start knocking at the doors of the sponsors and those who can partner with us. But the intention was not to look for sponsor. It was to look for partners. Because a sponsor can give you money and walk away. They don't care what you do, how you do it. But because we looked for partners, here we are today. Because Exaro has a passion for every area that it's got its own operations, and say, for you to make this successful, we want you to make it happen where we have our mining activities, so that we can reach out to our communities. But somebody else would have said, you know what, just do whatever you do, show us the reports, we'll see how we do it. But we are grateful to Exaro, because Exaro's participation was to make sure that we impact communities. And here we are today. Having said that, I want us to reflect and say, come 30-30, 3030, 30-30, are we going to be in the same place? Are we going to be in the same hall? How would the hall look like? Who can give me that picture of 30-30 hall? How it will look like? A dome. Okay. Airspace. Yeah, I like that one. Airspace. So we're going to have a conference in the airspace, like floating, yes. Right? Wow.
Yes. On Mars.
Any other one who can guess how it's going to look like? Glass walls, surrounded by glass walls. Anyone else? Who can tell me the kind of a car we'll be driving, 30-30? Give me a description of a car, 30-30. Yes, yes. The robot will be driving you. But how will the car look like? Who can tell me what we'll be eating in 30-30? What kind of food will be there in 30-30? It's going to be a pill, right? So we're just going to boom, But here is the reality. Here is the reality. None of us will be there 30-30. None of us. But let me tell you something. The idea you have shared with me today can be there 30-30 because of you. What you have said now will be there 30-30 because of you. In as much as you may not know how it will develop to that point, but it will be there 30-30 because of you. Henry Ford just came with a car. Today, we still have Ford in a new shape, new form, but his name is still attached to it. As an entrepreneur, I want to challenge you to understand that the idea you have today is not for now. In as much as you are hustling now, in as much as you are working on it now, but it's for generations to come. I know that as you're sitting here, you think that electricity is the biggest thing that we have in the world. But trust me, we still have a lot of molecules and a lot of discovery where we're not going to use electricity. We just plug into another thing that comes from somewhere where we don't know. There's a gem that has not been discovered that has got a potential to produce power. It's underground. There's a stone that has got currency that may not be discovered now, or we don't have it now. But come 30-30, that's what we can use. We are already into nuclear power, power and all that, So what you think is what we have now is not all that we should have until you come up with your idea. Here is a thing. Don't be too sophisticated with your idea. Be simple. Because the challenge that we have as entrepreneurs today, we want to be too sophisticated. If it doesn't crack the mind, it's not an idea. That's the thinking that we have, to say, if it doesn't crack the mind, it's not an idea enough. The greatest idea is in the things that we use every day. The food we eat every day. How we live our lives every day. That is how the greatest idea comes. We all know of the first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, fourth industrial revolution, fifth industrial revolution, those who are advanced already. Right. And I had an argument to say, when did this revolution start? Because if revolution started in 18th century, what was happening 2,000 years going back? And for those who believe that we've been existing for the past million years, what was happening? Why should we know about revolutions now? The Bible tells me that when they built the temple, they had to float the logs, the wood, through water, Nile River, from one point to another. They had to use the sea. The theory of having the beautiful sea next to the beautiful cities next to the sea was because those were the floating means of transport. Now, what revolution do we call that? Transport, yes, but now we put transport into something first, or the steam engine revolution and all that. The bricks that were used to build, the life that was there before we were. I strongly believe that there were revolutions then. But we are living at the era where we had to say, how do we cope with this? But here is a good thing. In as much as we say first revolution, second revolution, third and fourth, we'll run out of this fourth, fifth, sixth, and all that, like what they ran out of when hurricane started. In America, when the first hurricane hit, they said, first hurricane, second hurricane, and what did they do? when they lost counting? Who can tell me? They started naming them women. Doris, Catherine. And now they are running out of those words. Now there is a competition. I don't know if we know about it, where they discover the new planet or the new stars or the new through the telescope in the Northern Cape. And now the invitation to South Africans to say, can you name it? By the way, we have a star named after a South African already. And now the names that were submitted, Budineo, Tulani, Tavo, That's the world we are living in. And guess what's going to happen with the revolutions? Instead of saying first, second, third, because of the pace that we are at, guess what's going to happen? There'll be Derrick Revolution, Peter Revolution, So unfortunately, I think we have used a lot of women on the hurricanes, right? So on the revolutions, can we use men, right? We stick to men names, right? So these are the realities that we have to face. Why do I have to explain this? I want you to take your mind out of the revolution and think of the revolution within you. And ask yourself, how will what is rumbling inside of you, the ideas that are rumbling, how can they change the world? How can something happen through your innovation, your invention? The first revolution, we know that it started either in Britain, some are arguing and saying France, some they say in China and all that. But that was when we had our coal and your steam engine machinery for manufacturing. And then we had the second one that happened towards the 19th century and the 20th early. That was the beginning of electricity and the wiring, communication. Can you believe? Just to take a wire, tie it on the other end and the other end, and then you start speaking, the other person hear you on the other side. And you look where we are today. No more wiring we need. We just have to connect via satellite. It's all about development. Then we had 1950 when we had a computer. And by the way, now we have a quantum computing, which is ushering us to fifth revolution. Then we had our fourth revolution that's getting us crazy now. When America is settled about it, we are crazy about it to say, wow. Now we have cyber physical where security is no longer there. Today somebody can just clone your phone and send a message, hi, can you please transfer money, I'm stranded. And before you even check it, oh, stranded, yes, and then before you don't even have to go to the bank. You don't even verify if the person is stranded. Then you start sending the money. And come morning, the person calls you, oh, Kazi, how are you? Let's go chill. No, you can't tell me go chill because you owe me money. Which money? I paid money last night to your account. No, it was not me. That's where we are. Thank you. I strongly believe that the world did not have the first industrial revolution, as I said, in the 18th century, as we had a lot of activities that happened before. And I strongly believe that fire played also a role in shaping the steel and melting gold in the centuries past, but where do we categorize that? We need to find ways to say, how do we define that? It is when we find ways to define our experience that we come to understand what we are faced with as society. There are ways that you're still going to create yourself that will shape where we are going. But it will take creativity as an entrepreneur. There are inventions that we're gonna create. There are ways that, if you remember, by 2010 they were not there. Today we have them. That is the revolution that we are talking about. The world as we know it will have taken, taken another look and shape as some countries will have run out of land to build and opt to build houses underground and rehabilitate the land for agriculture to survive by 3030. If somebody was to tell you that the water are rising and by 3010, Nelspruit will be the next sea point, you would not believe it. You would not believe it. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, by 2050, Mumbai, as you know, it will be underwater. It's not an argument. It's a fact. The only thing that they can do is to build a bunker so that when the water rises, then they are under the bunker. So which means that the Mumbai people will be sitting under the sea. Those are realities. As I'm speaking to you now, Singapore is looking at building the cities underground and rehabilitate the land so that they can do agriculture. Because they don't have space to build or to do agriculture. But let me tell you something. The people that will come with the ideas, that innovative ideas, are not sitting somewhere else. They are sitting in this room. The solution to the future is in this room. The mindset that you have is what will take us to the next revolution. It's what will take the world to the next revolution. With advancing technology, and not only drones will be flying by 2030, guess what else will be flying? Us. Reality. We're going to have wings. And you won't have to, you will develop them yourself, and then you just go like, you know what, let me fly to my friend, you know. Electronically, brrr, and then you land. Because they are battling to regulate the drones as we speak. They are battling to regulate the drones. The biggest bombing that happened of the petroleum in Iraq, right? Or in Saudi Arabia, 2 months, 3 months ago, they used drone. And there was flames all over. And now what's going to happen? We stop the drones, people will start flying, you know. So others will just decide and say, no, what, tonight, baby, let's go and mid-air, you know. That's it. That's the world we are faced with, and we have to be realistic. But whatever you see changed, it takes an idea of one person. Whether you are strong enough to live, whether you eat Herbalife or any other chemical or whatever, the fact is you're going to die. When your time comes, you're going to die. But ladies and gentlemen, here is the good news. Like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and many inventors, your name can still be mentioned 100 years from now. Whether you're dead, somebody can still say, Sarah lived in Witbank. Today we are having this invention because of Sarah. And today, guess who will be smiling? Your great-great-grandchildren. They will go to your grave to clean it every day. They'll go there to sit and kiss it because they'll be wealthy because of your idea. That's all that you can leave them. You leave them pension fund, oh boy, before you even wrote, they will fight for it. They will fight over it. Before you know it, they will fight over it. And in 2-3 years, they will be broke like everybody else with your millions that you left them with. But you leave them with the idea, with the business, invention. They will embrace it, and it will sustain it, to their generation, generations to come. 3030, your name will still be mentioned. You can't tell me that Bill Gates will be forgotten by 3030. It's not possible. You know, there are some people who think that, who's this guy, the scientist? Einstein, that Einstein lived in 18th century. No, he died 1969, by the way. Somewhere there. But because of his greatness, you think this guy actually was in the 16th century somewhere there? It's in our generation. But once your name becomes great because of your invention, the world thinks you are supernatural, you know? And you can be that depending on your idea that you come up with. We all have ideas when it comes to business, but we are not determined enough to harness those ideas. And for your names to live to 3030, these are the following things that you have to look at. Firstly, you need to invest in your great ideas. Invest in your ideas. You may not have money, but invest your time. Because there are people who just think walking, not think thinking. You don't give yourself time to pause and say, let me think and meditate. The Bible says, meditate on what is good, what is of good report, what is noble, what is of peace, and all that. Have you ever taken time to meditate on your business idea? Because that's why some of us, we make a lot of mistakes. By the way, congratulations, you have extra strong in front of you. I remember the song that we used to sing, extra strong, extra strong. So you can just take one, yeah. You need to meditate on your idea. Here are the two things that I want you to understand. Any bad idea can consume your mind for 10 minutes. But a good idea or a good thought doesn't last for 30 seconds. You are the one that must enforce the good ideas to stay in your mind. Yeah. If you don't, that's why it's easy to think of something and until you write it down, you forget about it. But something bad, you don't have to write it down. You'll remember it. So take time to dwell into anything good, also your idea. Start with the right attitude and purpose. You don't start a business to make money, but to have impact, to change lives, and money is as a result of your service exchange. You would still be rich without business, but by just being employed. It's your choice. If it was about money in business, the richest will have retired by now. Number 3, start business with the right people. Here is a quote that I love the most. A friendship founded on business is much better than a business founded on friendship. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay, I've got 5 minutes, probably. Thank you. And I'm done by that time. Do not approach a friend to start a business, even when you can see that your friend is very negative in life. Why would you want to force something to do business with you when they can tell they are negative? You know what I call those friends? They are the friends that you can talk about generation with. How generation was. Did you see Tao? Wow. And from there you go and do business alone. Leave them with Tao and go and do business. You need the right team to do the business. Do not hire people you can't fire in your business. Because everyone must fall on their own sword when things go wrong. No hard feelings, it's business. If your relatives do not deliver, fire them. Kick them out. Create strong collaboration and networks. Rather earn 1% of 100% people's effort than 100% of your own effort. Who can tell me how much is Bill Gates holding as shares in Microsoft? Anyone who can give me a guess? That's the last point. How much do you think Bill Gates owns? No Google, please, no Gulu Gulu. How much do you think Bill Gates owns? 100%. He owns 1%, sir. 1%. By 2016, he sold all his shares, donated the money, and was left with 1% of the company. But he still earns and becomes the richest man. He said, let go of this whole 100. I'd rather have 1% and have everybody work for me worldwide. I'll still be rich. So the challenge that we have as entrepreneurs, we want to hold everything to ourselves. We don't want to collaborate. We don't want to expand. We don't want to open doors for others. We don't want to partner. Yes, partnerships will hurt as much as relationship hurts, but you keep on falling in love. Thank you very much.